Hi, and welcome to the Upstate Roots podcast. I'm here with my co-host Melissa Cowart, broker in charge of Gate Realty, and Chris Wilson, the executive director of the Humane Society of Greenwood. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, man, I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Where are you from? How'd you get here?
Well, I like to say I'm kind of from all around, really. Tell you a little story. My mom had me at a young age, and she was a single mom. So after I was born, we lived with my grandparents for a while. My granddad was in the Navy, kind of wrapping up a Navy career. So we moved around a little bit with that, Illinois, Tennessee, Virginia, various places. But my family roots have always been right here in the Upstate region.
Okay.
So once he retired, we moved back into this area, and that's pretty much where I've been ever since. Just kind of, from the time I was in the 4th grade on, I went to school over in Abbeville. And came up through high school, finished actually my senior year at Greenwood High School, moved back over here, and just been in the area ever since.
Awesome. So you are kind of born and bred in the upstate of South Carolina.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
What did you do before you started getting into animal services, or was that kind of the first foray into the working world?
No, it's, I bounced around and did a lot of things when I was younger, but before I got into animal services, all kinds of stuff. I actually, believe it or not, used to work in a cemetery.
Oh, wow.
Long time ago. Just started out kind of cutting grass.
You were caring, because there's like the sales part of working in a cemetery.
There is, and eventually I kind of moved into some of that. But I even managed the 10-screen theater over here for a little while, did that. But I worked in retail.
Was it called the Premier?
It was REI when it first opened. It was independently owned.
Gotcha.
And I worked for the folks that owned that. Did that for about a year. Just various things here and there. But I was working retail sales actually for Office Max.
Okay.
And after a while, just kind of got tired of, I like to call it kind of the corporate rat race a little bit, just enriching the bottom line.
Yeah.
And saw that they had an opening at the Humane Society at the old animal shelter, and I knew Karen from back in the day, one of the previous jobs back in the day at Velux. We used to work together out there.
Now this was in the Greenwood.
In Greenwood, here at Velux. So just kind of decided to try my hand at something different. I reached out to Karen one day and said, I see you guys got this opening, should I apply? She encouraged me to do it. And so I kind of fell into it kind of by happenstance.
Yeah. And what did you do when you started working there? Were you the bottom of the totem pole?
That was pretty much. That was way back in 2006. I started out as a shelter intake clerk, which basically is the guy that sits up front and does all the check-in, the strays, the animal control, every animal that comes in through the facility. You do all the paperwork and the data entry on that. So that's where I started.
Right.
And then gradually moved into all the other aspects from the medical part of it, did some adoption time for a while. Pretty much everything except executive director.
Right.
So.
Yeah, small businesses are kind of like that, aren't they? I mean, not that the Humane Society is a small business, but there's not a whole lot of personnel that are over there, and I would imagine that there's a lot of overlap in the duties.
Yeah, you try to cross-train as much as you can because naturally you have people out for various reasons, and you need to be able to cover those spots.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. Then you went on, and you became an investigator.
Yeah, animal control officer. Yeah, it's interesting how that happened. Because I had done so many things at the shelter, I kind of felt like, for me, I had always had an interest in animal control.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt like, for me, that was the next logical step.
And before we get, what's the difference between like a Humane Society and animal control?
Okay. Well, the Humane Society, the best way to describe that is animal control is typically more of a function of government, law enforcement. The Humane Society itself is an independent nonprofit that supports and promotes things like animal welfare legislation. Then you have a case like ours where we actually work with government to run the animal shelter per se, that operation for them.
Awesome.
It's like the government deciding that the experts know how to do it better, so we're going to bring them in and let them do that.
That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, exactly.
I wish that we could do more of that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so you went out there, you started down that kind of path. Can you take me down that path and
kind
of what
sure.
that was about?
Yeah, I wanted to get into animal control, and at the time, the city of Abbeville had an opening. They were looking to make some changes in their animal control department, And in the process of doing that, they came over and did a shelter tour here in Greenwood, and I actually gave them that tour. And then not long after that, they actually reached out to me and wanted to know if I was interested in doing it. I kind of saw it as a chance to make that jump, do something different. They needed to do some new things in Abbeville. I thought that was something I could bring to them.
Yeah.
So I took that leap and went over there back in 2011.
Okay. And was there a separate schooling to go be an investigator? And what were you investigating? Because it's an animal cruelty investigation, right?
That's one component of it. Yeah.
Okay.
When I went over there, there are actually classes,
Gotcha.
schooling that you can go to, certifications.
Right.
But in the state of South Carolina, there is no actually mandated or required training program for animal control. In fact, most officers, depending on the county, are already certified police officers. It just depends.
Okay.
Right. So I eventually took some formal training on that, and I had some experience in courtroom testimony and other things through working with animal control with the Humane Society.
Right.
But what I did over there was not only animal control and investigations and enforcement, but I also ran the animal shelter. They had a small animal shelter over there at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really all that. I ran the animal shelter and did the animal control function.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you have any type of stories that you can share from during that time?
Well, yeah. Obviously, when you're doing something like animal control, you see a lot of things that make you shake your head. So there's certain details you can and cannot share. Some of it's graphic, but I can tell you pretty much what I think I saw the majority of the time. And what you see a lot of is situations where there's just general neglect. You find a lot of folks that own animals that say might get hit by a car, might experience an injury, something along those lines. And for whatever reason, they're either unwilling or unable to treat that when it needs to be treated. So those animals linger, they suffer. And you see a lot of that. But honestly, what I've found is a lot of that is because of socioeconomic issues.
Right. They can't afford.
So they either can't afford it.
Yeah.
They don't understand in many ways.
So do you think that's maybe an
deal.
Education issue?
Exactly, an education issue. A lot of it's a poverty issue.
Gotcha.
And access to resources. A lot of these smaller, rural, underfunded counties do not have animal shelters. They've been lucky to even have a veterinarian. Sometimes these people don't know who to turn to.
Right, right. So who provides that education? Is that a Humane Society function, or is that a law enforcement function, or is it kind of both?
It's kind of both, really. Yeah, a big role of the Humane Society is to provide education for folks in those cases. They can always turn to them for information. But any good animal control officer should incorporate an education function into what they do as well. Because, you can't write a ticket for everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Sometimes people just need to learn that what they did is wrong, depending on the severity of it.
Right.
Yeah.
What efforts are you guys doing to educate at this very moment?
Well, we actually have a full-time humane educator and volunteer coordinator that does that. So he does all kinds of various things, from hosting groups at the shelter to going out and catching the kids when they're young in the schools, when they're impressionable, teaching them about proper pet care, teaching them how to avoid situations when they encounter stray pets, how to keep from getting bitten, different things like that. So we do outreach. We get out in the schools, we get out in the community, and we go to the people and take the message to them.
That's awesome. Is that common for? I mean, Greenwood's not a small city by any means, but it's a medium, small size city.
Yeah.
Is that a common position that a city this size would have, or is that a common position for most Humane Society offices to kind of carry?
I think if they are fortunate enough to be able to fill that role in terms of personnel and also financially,
Right.
Yeah, it's a critical role.
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So eventually you became the Animal Services Director.
Right, for the county of Abbeville.
For the County Animal Services Department. So describe what that department is and what it's not, and what your job was.
Sure. Yeah, that department essentially was brand new. It was created from the ground up. Now, the function of animal control under Abbeville, as far back as just over a year ago, used to be under the Sheriff's Department.
Right.
And Abbeville County decided they wanted to get into the sheltering business. There was a lot of demand for it. The program and the success that we had at the city level, I think, had outgrown the capacity of what we were doing there. So the county decided it was in their best interest to get involved, maybe have their own animal shelter for a change. The shelter that was there was owned and operated exclusively by the city.
Okay.
The county used it when they had to, but they needed their own place.
Yeah.
That was a service they needed to be able to provide to the public. So in the process, they just decided to merge the two and have the animal control department work out of that shelter as sort of a headquarters. And that's how that came about. So the creation of the department, bringing me on from the city to the county was kind of the natural progression because I had already done that for the city anyway.
Right.
So.
And did your job change? I mean, once you kind of stepped into the county role?
Yeah, it expanded. It really was just kind of an expansion of what I was already doing. I was already running the city shelter. I was going to be running the new shelter that they were building in Abbeville. It was going to be a bigger, nicer, newer facility built from the ground up. And then we took on the role of animal control for the entire county. So my territory or my jurisdiction grew from about 5 square miles to nearly 500.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a big change.
So what is your current status with where you're at now? What are you doing now?
I'm the executive director for the Humane Society of Greenwood.
And that's a fairly new appointment, right?
Yeah, as of March the 4th was my first day. Karen Petty, bless her heart, she's done this for a very long time. Karen decided it was time for her to do something different.
Yeah.
You know, she's ready. She's invested so much of her heart and soul into this over the years.
Right.
The Humane Society, in many ways, is her baby.
Right.
And she's done a phenomenal job with it. And they're big shoes to fill. That's why I told her I'm not even going to try to fill them. I'm just going to do my own thing. But, you know, I think Karen was ready to get to a point where she's still committed to the business. But at the same time, she wants to be able to take her weekends and go do what she enjoys doing.
Right.
Photography, you know, she's an amazing photographer.
Is she?
Yeah, she
she
really
is.
is. She's an incredible photographer, does great work. She just wants to be able to get out and do her thing. And that move allows her to do that. And
So what is she now?
she's the business manager now.
Okay.
So she's pretty much running the day-to-day business operation in terms of finance, that sort of thing for us over there at the shelter. And I've taken on the executive director role, so a lot of the fundraising, overseeing the operational aspects,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
What
So-
is your mission in that, not necessarily just in that position, but especially now that you're in that position, what is your mission for the Greenwood Humane Society?
My mission is to pretty much build on the success that we have already had and kind of take it to the next level. Just be innovative, be creative, do some things we have not done before, maybe expand some programs. We're looking at a lot of things, and of course a lot of that is going to be depending on where we can go from a fundraising level.
Right.
But we're looking at doing a lot of things. You know, the business of animal sheltering in itself has changed so much over the last 10, 15 years.
Right.
It's evolved, and we have to evolve with that to keep up.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's pretty much it. We're just kind of expanding the mission and growing it.
Yeah. I saw recently that Gmail had celebrated its 15th birthday.
Yeah, can you believe that?
I'm running out for a few minutes.
Okay.
Tina's going to take care of y'all.
Perfect.
Okay, thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. I guess that's a perfect moment to go on an aside that we are filming today from Fusion.
Yeah, you forgot about that at the
in
beginning.
Well, I got a little rushed into
That's
it.
our
We're-
reminder.
We're at Fusion in Greenwood. We're here at happy hour. They have half off or buy one get one or whatever, however they word it.
BOGO.
Sushi rolls, BOGO sushi rolls. They've got a great bar, sake. They do Thai food, Japanese food. They even have things like pho and some other stuff like that. They're a great location, and thanks to them for letting us come and film
Yeah.
here today.
This happens to be one of our favorite places.
This is
to-
one of our
to
favorite
catch lunch.
spots. This is one of our. I think that we mentioned it in one of our first episodes.
very first episode, actually.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we are drinking a cold sake today.
Cold
And
sake.
I don't know what this is. It's some kind of sushi that
I
he
ordered
picked
it.
out.
It's good.
But it's good. I mean, you can't go wrong here.
Yeah.
Either way, it's good. I
Yeah.
don't know the name of it, but it's good. And then Chris has got...
He went American on us.
Yeah, we're going all American today for this one.
Make
so,
Ultra. That's
yeah,
okay. That's
yeah.
okay. So jumping back in, before we get into what the Humane Society does and does
Sure.
not do, let's talk about how the Humane Society gets funded. Is it a nonprofit? Does it get public funding, private funding? You know,
I'm
where does
glad
that
you
come
brought
from?
that up. Yeah, because a lot of people don't know.
Right.
The Humane Society, the way it works is it's actually a public-private partnership.
Right.
So a little more than half of the funding actually is appropriated by Greenwood County through taxpayer funding.
Okay.
The rest of it is all Humane Society. We pick up the tab for the rest of it, so that's all donations, contributions, fundraising throughout the year.
Does any of that come from the parent? Because there's a national Humane Society, right? I mean, there's a
There
larger,
is, yes, the
right?
Humane Society of the United States, and the answer to that question is no. We do not receive funding from the
Gotcha.
Humane Society of the United States. Now, the Humane Society of the United States does have grant opportunities and different things that they put out during the year, but it's just as competitive as you might think. Not everybody gets that.
Gotcha.
But they don't cut us a check on a monthly basis.
Sure.
Yeah.
Understood. Do you guys do fundraising drives? Do you have anything coming up soon?
Yeah, we've actually got a lot of stuff coming up soon, and we do fundraising drives all throughout the year, various things, and there's a lot of different ways that you can do that now. But we've actually got 4 big events that are coming up over this month and the next month.
Awesome. Go ahead and shout them out.
Yeah, sure. The first one we've got coming up is actually next Thursday on April the 11th. It's called Upscale Retail.
Okay.
And what it is a unique experience. The first time we've ever done this when it's a shopping and socialization event. We're doing it up at Main Event Catering, which is right next door to Sports Break over at the Cross Creek Connector. We're going to have a lot of really great women's resale items over there. So handbooks, pocketbooks, scarves, shoes, jewelry and costume accessories, gently used stuff that's been donated.
Okay.
And we're going to have all that stuff available for sale. They're also going to have beer and wine available.
Awesome.
Some light hors d'oeuvres. So that's going to run from 4 to 7. It's going to be on next Thursday, the 11th.
Okay.
So we got that coming up. And then on April the 13th, that following Saturday, we actually have an event right over here at the Petsmart. We've got an adoption weekend going on.
Okay. Those are always fun.
Yeah, they're great. And we're starting now where we do the actual mobile on-site adoptions. This is going to be, we used to have to send them back to the shelter and do paperwork. This is going to be the first time we're going to do it all right there at Petsmart.
Yeah.
So we're going to simplify it.
One-stop shop.
Right. April 20th, the following weekend, we're going to be over at Monster Storage. That's going to be over at the on Calhoun.
Right.
We're calling it Monster Paws. That's another on-site adoption event we're doing for them.
Awesome.
It's self-contained storage.
Awesome.
And then the big one we got coming up on May the 18th, we've actually got 3 events on the 18th. The one I'm going to tell you about today, because we're still working out the details on the other ones.
Right. And we can update later whenever you think,
absolutely. The big one we've got coming up is Run to the Rescue 5K, and that's our annual 5K race that we do every year. That's a big fundraiser for us, so folks can go to the website. They can sign up for that now.
We'll be there.
That was the look.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Exactly.
You should too. Cool. So those are all fundraising events, and that's going to be, you said 50%. Of where you get your money.
Yeah, the Humane Society's taken on about 42 to 43% of the overall operational budget now for the shelter. So we're pretty much drawing even with Greenwood County.
Right. Awesome. Yeah. So what? Do you want to ask this one?
No, I wanted to. I accidentally messed up your screen.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I hinted to this earlier, but what does the Humane Society do, and what does it not do?
Okay. Well, we'll draw on the distinction a little bit because I know there can be a little bit of confusion about it.
Right, exactly.
The Humane Society as an entity is a nonprofit, so even though we're all self-contained in the one building now, what we do is we operate the adoption and the spay-neuter clinic, the humane education portion of the operation.
Okay.
The intake side, or what we call the shelter side, which is your stray intakes, owner surrenders, animal control intakes, that's all a function of Greenwood County government. So that's technically the Greenwood County Animal Shelter side. And then so for intake, and then the outcome portion of it is the Humane Society side. We essentially split it down the middle.
Okay.
Right. So we provide, the spay-neuter clinic access, the humane education outreach and all that.
Right.
But we also handle the sheltering services there in the building.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So what's a misconception that people often think that you do but you don't do?
There's a lot of misconceptions in this field, and this is a good opportunity to talk about a big one. The most common question we get is, are you no-kill? Are you no-kill shelter?
Right. That's a big issue right now.
Yeah, it is a big issue, and we get that a lot because it's a controversial issue as well, and it's an emotional issue. Anything dealing with animals is emotional. Right. But we get that question, and I think the best way to really answer that is we make every effort we can to save every healthy and treatable animal that we can. But the reality of it is you can't save everybody. So no-kill as a term is a little bit of a misnomer. even what you would call the so-called no-kill shelters,
Right.
do euthanize animals to a portion. But they make sure that it's usually only animals that are either medically or behaviorally unviable.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the point we're trying to get to. The magic number on that is kind of 90% live release, which means the animals that leave the building alive, either through adoption, foster, various means.
Right.
So there is really no true 100% no kill.
Right. It's a political term.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
It's just a distinction.
You want to ask him that one?
What is the adoption process?
Yeah.
All right. So, what is the
Yeah.
adoption process, and where do people go if they are interested in adopting an animal from the Greenwood Humane Society?
Great question. You can actually, we've got a lot of different ways you can find out what animals are at the shelter and what's available. So we got the website, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. All of our folks are sharing stuff on social media throughout the day. But the best thing to always do is just come out and visit us at the shelter. We're more than glad to have you walk through the adoption center, whether you're interested in a cat or a dog. And what we're trying to do now is move to what we call more of an open adoption model. So it's not about coming out and doing a stack of paperwork anymore. It doesn't take an hour to do it.
Right.
We want you to come out. We want you to find an animal that you're interested in. And it's more now about having a conversation with you.
Right.
Yeah.
So you tell us what you're looking for. We tell you what we think we have that might fit your needs according to your lifestyle, your family's lifestyle. And we talk about if we think it's going to be a good fit. Other than that, it's a simple little one-page form. You fill it out, you pay the fee. Most of the animals are already spayed, neutered, vaccinated, microchipped, ready to go. They leave with you.
Wonderful.
And I would like to add, because I actually used to be an adoption counselor, the people that are coming, they have a connection with the animals. They are really able to decide which pets are going to really fit into your personal needs.
Right.
And a lot of times the animals are rescuing the people. The people need the pets and the companionship just as much as the animals need them.
Absolutely.
So they are the best at deciding really which animals are going
So
to fit
you
your
really
home.
lean on your staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, they know the animals pretty much better than anyone
Right.
at that point. They spend every day with them.
Right.
And, it's symbiont in that way. But it cuts down on the recidivism and the adoption returns, too. It's
Yep.
all about knowing the animal and being the right fit for the adopter.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Does the Humane Society provide any education or services for people who already own pets? And you kind of already answered this a little bit with the spay and neuter, but
Yeah,
does it go beyond that? Because we had one of our dogs. I got
All right.
my first dog I got from the Humane Society in Greenville. Our second dog was a true rescue in the moment, where we found her and saved her from a group of buzzards that were trying to eat her. But we came and got her spayed down with you guys. So I think a lot of people know that option is there, but are there more options for education or resources that you guys have that people could take advantage, but they're not really
I'll put
aware
it to you
of it?
this way. Yeah, if we don't have it, we can really work hard to help you find it. Our biggest issue that we're having right now is we're still looking to get a full-time vet in there. So that's kind of the roadblock the hurdle we're trying to get over right now to keep us from doing things like low-cost vaccine clinics. Making it easier for people who are in certain situations to keep their pets.
Right.
But what we try to do now, and this is part of what we call our managed intake system, is where we schedule out our owner surrenders. So if people call and they're having issues with their dog, we can try to help them rehome the pet on their own. And we can also try to help them with educational resources for common problems that may have, the things that they can solve in-house, like house soiling, things of that nature, common behavioral
Right.
issues. So yeah, a lot of educational outreach. That's primarily right now what we do.
Gotcha. Have you found Greenwood to be supportive of you?
Oh yeah.
I just want to let you know, so, you guys can stop at 4:30 because we need to.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we've
Oh,
got
yeah, sure.
we've got 6 minutes left.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem.
Let's see, where was I? Oh, have you found Greenwood to be a supportive city,
Sure, absolutely.
culturally,
Yeah.
financially?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
In both ways, it's been great. Yeah, Greenwood's been right there for us.
yeah, absolutely. I think that from what I've been able to see, it does seem that the people of Greenwood are very much in support of the Humane Society and the work that they're doing,
Right.
and understand its relevance in today's world.
We got a good support base, we got a good volunteer base, and it's growing.
That's awesome.
I've
That's
got
awesome.
a question.
Yeah, please.
is it still an option for people to bring their pets for microchipping and for, do you guys are doing spay and neuter?
Yes, and I'm glad you mentioned that because
Okay.
I let that one slip by. But yeah, you can still come out and do public microchipping as well. In fact, we're going to be planning a public microchip clinic here before long. So
Okay,
we'll have more
great.
details on that later.
And that's really cool because if you're able to, if you find a pet, get it back to its owner immediately. It keeps the shelters from getting
Absolutely.
overcrowded, and
Right.
of course, the whole mission is to make people aware of the need to spay and neuter.
Right.
Because if you can keep the unwanted pets down to begin with, then you help fight the cause. You know.
Yeah, you said it better than I could. Yeah.
Absolutely. We've got about 5 minutes left.
Sure.
What are some things that people could do to help you guys care for animals, or in your maybe PR outreach type stuff, or just volunteering for anything? What are some things that they can do? Where are some places that they can go to find out information about how they can help out? Who do
Sure.
they need to contact, etc.?
Well, the most obvious choice would be just to go to our website. The website's pretty comprehensive. There's a lot of different detailed information on there, ways you can contribute, ways you can give back,
Okay.
ways you can help us. The biggest thing is honestly just through volunteering. Just come down and give your time. We were just talking about a new thing today where we're talking about doing what we call virtual fosters. So these are for the people who not necessarily can take an animal home with them for foster, but might want to come out and virtually foster an animal, which means they come down to the shelter, they pick a certain one they're interested in, they interact with it, spend some time with it,
awesome.
Yeah.
and then they help us in turn promote that one particular animal on social
Right.
media.
They
So we
become
get
the
a little-
marketer.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
they become
Right.
the marketer through
Interesting.
fostering, which
Yeah.
is a really, really neat idea. And we're just starting to dive into that today. But just generally helping to share our social media posts and spread the word for us, help us through that marketing and that outreach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they have to go through any type of like pre-qualification or anything like that?
Yeah, we
to
do
that
have a
kind of
volunteer
stuff?
orientation process.
Gotcha.
We usually do those one Saturday a month. So they come down, they'll go see Hope down at the shelter. She's got a little brief application for them to fill out. Then we'll bring them back out for an orientation and go through some of the do's and don'ts and how the whole process works.
Perfect. If anybody wanted to bring by blankets or dog beds or treats or toys or whatever, can they do that? And how do
Sure.
they need to go about doing that? Who do they need to get in touch
Just come
with?
on down and visit us. Yeah, we're always willing to accept that sort of stuff, whether it's pet food donations,
Yep.
blankets, bedding, anything of that nature. We're typically open from Tuesday to Saturday, 12 to 5, but you don't have to wait for us to be there. You're more than welcome to put it at the door if you want before opening hours. We'll be glad to take it.
Okay,
Sure.
awesome. Do you have any other questions that you want to ask before I get to my last one or two?
No, I have actually something to say is that,
Yeah.
just because you may not be able in the sense to be able to volunteer time or money or whatever, you need to really just give what you can, whether it's sharing, whether it's calling them and asking them what can you give, like what can you donate.
Right.
Just really try, because it is a need. Like I've been in the shelter, I've seen the things that come in, and it's a cause worth fighting for.
Right.
It really is. It breaks my heart that it's even a need for the Humane Society, but just if you guys can, just share the post, whatever it is. Everything
Right.
matters to them.
Yeah, everything helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, the shelter really is, in many ways, a community resource.
Yeah.
And the only way we're going to get to where we want to be as a community is to come together as a community and do it. So you're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Last
Awesome.
question.
Do
you want to do that one?
Yeah, I got 2 minutes left, so
Okay.
these are kind of going to be quick. We ask this at the end of every episode.
Sure.
What's your favorite local food or drink spot? It doesn't have to be Greenwood. It can be Simpsonville or something like that, anywhere in the Upstate.
Yeah, I got a couple of them, actually. I'm big on Mexican food, so I like
Yeah.
to hang out at Santa Fe. I'm a big
Santa
Mexican
Fe,
food guy.
yeah.
But I'm telling you, another couple of them here that are local that I really like. I especially enjoy Kickers.
Kickers.
yeah.
That's the second
great
time we've
takeout there.
gotten-
Awesome food. Yeah, I love
Kickers.
Kickers, and I love hanging out at the Mill House. It's a great
Yeah,
place.
I know. We love
Yeah.
the Mill House too. I love their beer.
Uncle.
Yep.
That's a big. I think that's a big thing to have here in this area, is somebody who's actually brewing their own beer and growing that
Exactly.
side of their
Exactly.
business. That's
I'd
going to
be-
draw a lot of attention.
I'd be remiss, let me throw this in real quick, if I didn't get a couple of Abbeville shout-outs. So if you're ever in the Abbeville, folks, always the Village Grill, great place to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
And check out Cold Springs Cafe because that's some of the best short order you'll get.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, I think that's all we have from
that's
us
it.
today. Chris, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank
you for having me.
Appreciate you
Appreciate
taking the
it.
time out of your busy day. Again, I'm David. This is Melissa Cowart and Chris Wilson from the Humane Society of Greenwood. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
See you later.